If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Live from New York, it's a show that's excited to see Ohtani on the mound tonight. He's got two, they're not record streaks, scoreless inning streaks and on-base streak. I think he continues both of them, bro. Do you?
I apologize for not knowing this. Is his on-base streak
walks
game?
as well?
No, but is it
games?
Oh, it's not
like
plate
46
appearances.
games.
Okay, got it.
But it's not a hitting streak.
46 games?
46 games.
Wow.
But
That's
you can
pretty
get walked.
impressive.
It is.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can get
that's
fielder's choice.
No, that doesn't count as.
But you're on base.
you're on
I
base.
understand, but that doesn't count.
If it's a fielder's
If you're
choice.
playing the cup game, passing around the stadium, a fielder's choice, you don't get to take money.
I don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
an error might
Yeah, you
count.
do, of
Not a
course.
fielder.
The cup game? I don't
Put
know what
money
that
in a
is.
cup, you take out money if the guy gets a hit, you put in money if the guy makes an out, you take out all the money if the guy hits a home run. Everybody knows that.
Do you know it? No. Me neither.
Everybody knows it. Fielder's choice, you got to put money in.
Nope. First hour, first things first today. Mendoza in Vegas. Which MVP quarterback is he being compared to? It's Matt Ryan. Meanwhile, World Cup Wednesday, John Strong is here to talk about Pulisic's cold streak and an injury that hurts our chances. Not good. And finally, a special NBA edition of Tears featuring Cade Cunningham's return. I hope.
Yeah, we hope.
It's teams, though.
I don't.
Well, he's on the Pistons. Yeah, I'm just trying to add some,
Is
gravitas to the Tears.
Okay.
Okay.
Cade Cunningham.
Is there?
Like that.
Okay.
According to Vince Goodwill, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's.
You didn't account for it. That's why I threw you for a loop.
I did.
You didn't account for it.
I did account. Okay.
I think he did. When I look at the Tears, I think he did.
Okay. We're starting in Los Angeles. Lakers lose the game, and they're cool. Redick benched Vanderbilt 16 seconds into the second quarter. That's not good. Had some choice words for Rui, who didn't want to talk to reporters post-game, and said DeAndre Ayton wasn't involved because, quote, well, he can't catch the ball. Here's JJ post-game.
Nothing personal with him. Normal stuff from my end. Called a timeout to get him out of the game, and he reacted. But again, normal interaction for me. Called the early timeout because Rui didn't do his job, and so took him out of the game. We've got to find 9 guys that are like all in. He's had trouble catching the ball, so we've ran a bunch of plays for him. He's just had trouble catching the ball, and I don't know if that's the passing or if it's him trying to get position. He hasn't been able to catch the ball.
Okay, just something or nothing.
It's something. Something called coaching. All right? I mean, God forbid a head coach hold his players accountable.
Okay.
That's what's happening here. He is holding them accountable. All right? Obviously, between the first and second quarters, in that break, they dialed up a play. We're running this out of the break. Mm-hmm. Get ready. They get their shot. Obviously, Jared Vanderbilt ran the wrong play or did something that he wasn't supposed to do. So Redick takes him out. It's called coaching.
Okay.
I mean, would you rather him mail it in? We don't have LeBron. We don't have Luka. We don't have AR-15. We're not supposed to win this game. Let them do what they know. This is coaching, gentlemen. And he did the same thing with Rui, right? Early in the game, Rui's not doing his assignments or whatever, gets him out, but does put him back in. Rui ends up having a good game. I mean, it may have helped Rui.
Okay.
And Ayton's been up and down. At times he does well, at times he doesn't. I just think this is coaching. And look, J.J. Redick, I called him out a couple months ago, but I have to say overall he's done a very good job this season.
I agree with that.
Right? He got them for a long stretch playing very good defense. He got them, LeBron, he said on his podcast that he kind of, as I thought, he just watched Luka and Austin while he was out and said, okay, this is the best way for me to fit in with it. It was his idea. But still, Redick has done a good job this year.
Okay.
So I mean, this is coaching. They'll be fine. I bet Vanderbilt will be fine with him. It happens.
I agree they'll be fine, and I agree Redick's done a good job this year. I think both of those are not in dispute. Here would be why I liked this maybe less than you did. First point. J.J. Redick's demeanor seems to always be directly correlated with how the team is rolling. And I don't think that is necessarily the right way to be as a leader. I don't think when we're winning and it's all laughs and happy, and when things are going bad or all of a sudden we got some bad news, now all of a sudden we're back to those guys better be ready for practice tomorrow. I'm going to run them into the ground. I actually think, sometimes when things are going high, that's when you come in with, hard. And when things are low, that's when you sometimes have a softer touch. Not always, but that's the first thing. And I think I'll use Michael Malone, who's now the head coach at North Carolina. He didn't very often go to the soft touch, but he also kept the Nuggets could be up 3-1 in the series. There was a great clip going around after he got the North Carolina job of him screaming at the players, "You guys are playing like we're up 30." And the score bug in the corners, they were up 27. So I do think there is an element of that. So that's first thing. Second thing is, I don't mind demanding accountability, and I think it is a prerequisite of any leader. I think Redick sometimes has done, and very recently included, a poor job of being accountable himself. We have had two separate parties that Redick has named as partially to blame for the injury situation his team is in. The people running the Mavericks MRI staff, and by default, his own trainers who gave him the clear.
Yep. What
I haven't heard is, but ultimately I'm the head coach, and I probably should have protected my guy, even if that's not what he believes. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, is, I think that is a fair criticism. And on Vando specifically, I think Jared Vanderbilt this year has been an awesome teammate. He is a guy who I think probably assumed he was going to have a bigger role than he has gotten. His minutes have been cut. And all the Vando clips we've seen have been him diffusing a situation between JJ and Luka, or him. He seems to have a really good relationship with Luka.
Luka and the refs.
He, doing those things. I think JJ knows doing that will outwardly embarrass the player. And it's done calling a timeout 16 seconds into a quarter for one specific player who's going to get benched. Pop used to sometimes do it and bench the whole team. All five guys. That, to me, is almost less, targeted. It's certainly not almost. It is less targeted than one guy. And I would have liked to see Vanderbilt maybe be given a little more grace, given the fact that I think he has handled his diminished role in a very professional way. So those are I think all those things are.
I think some of that, I agree with some of that, but especially Redick taking some accountability. Like you said, even if you don't mean it. But I would believe the Lakers are disappointed, and Redick included, are disappointed in Vanderbilt. He's 6'8", he's long, he's athletic. That's just what the doctor ordered for the Lakers.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been able to consistently fill that role for him. He can't really score. He can't really shoot.
Can't make it.
Yeah, and
You're
so
playing
that
4-on-5
right.
on offense when he's
and so there's probably some disappointment there. Maybe he has a little shorter leash with him. But I was fine with this. Wiles was upset, I can tell.
No, I wasn't upset. I would say that it's a little bit of not quite Tin Man mode, Valentine's Day mode.
What does that mean?
Stole your heart. The Thunder embarrassed the Lakers in OKC. We're going to come into your building now without your 3 best players and watch you guys crumble from within. Everybody knows you have no chance. Everyone in the building, the coach, the players, the fans. And it's sort of, now we're leading the show with, man, JJ was upset at the players. No one's speaking to the media
well, I don't know
afterwards.
who the media is. All the guys who are used to speaking to the media are injured.
But just
you're
we went out there. We went out there and fought without Luka, without AR, and without
they
LeBron.
Were down, they were getting destroyed.
Valentine's Day mode. Stole your heart.
You think they stole their heart? That's why they got crushed? It wasn't because they don't have the talent to compete.
I don't know.
OKC brings it every night.
How many players does
Valentine's Day
how
mode.
many of it? This is where I think you have a wild double standard about this particular team. How many of a team's best players are allowed to be out when playing the best team in the league when a loss is not some indictment on their heart or character?
What are we talking about? The Lakers fought hard and rallied and put on a good performance? Or is this something or nothing, JJ Redick critical of the Lakers' performance?
No, but what I'm saying is, for any team in the league that would be without its 4 best players, that's what the Lakers are without. It's Luka, LeBron, Austin, Marcus Smart. How many teams do you think would put up a better showing without their top 4 guys against a motivated Thunder team? Do you think there's a lot of teams that look? So I think
Thunder crushing full strength Lakers.
Right. So why is it about a lack of heart?
Well, this is the question we decided on is the story of the game.
No, but I thought the question we're discussing is whether or not JJ flipping out on the players is something. I don't know where
I think you're saying that they took the Lakers' heart, and so that's what JJ saw, and that's why he went off.
Is that what is
a little bit?
Okay.
Either it felt like the Lakers got scrambled. They didn't meet with if Vanderbilt and Rui didn't meet with the media after the game, and JJ met with the media and was ripping guys. I don't think that is a positive sign.
They're definitely frustrated. And JJ is definitely frustrated because what looked like it may have been a promising postseason run is now looking like it's all up in smoke. Now, look, you guys surprised me. Good job. I expected somebody to just totally think that JJ was being too hard on the players. Oh my gosh, he criticized him. So I had this ready, Dusty. I had it ready, but I didn't, I didn't need it. I didn't need it. Good job. You guys are learning.
Why is this in the show?
Bruto is being listened to.
Why it doesn't?
You guys are listening to Bruto.
It doesn't work.
Now you're not as soft as you used to be.
We're trying to make an Emmy push right now.
The only reason you like this, I'm 100% serious, is because your right pectoral muscle looks literally chiseled because I think it's your head on
because it is my right pectoral muscle. What are you talking about? Everybody can see that.
Like your feelings get hurt when Cowboy Brew has a little gut, and you're like, this is the way it should. Trying to have a serious conversation about the marquee franchise in the NBA. All right, moving on to San Antonio. Wemby's doubtful tonight against the Blazers, dealing with a rib injury that the Spurs say isn't major. He needs to play 20 more minutes to qualify for the much maligned 65-game threshold. Rudy, you need to see Wemby before the playoffs for the awards or just to get playoff ready?
Both. I mean, look, the awards, it will really be sad if he can't play and is not the defensive player of the year, is not first team or any team all NBA. Obviously, it would be first team. But the most important thing is the playoffs. So, yes, you want him to play. I'm sure the Spurs, if they can get him out there, they want to get him out there so he's eligible for these awards. And he has actually talked about how important it is to him to start racking up. So he's not going to be the MVP. But I really need to see him, Nick, to see what he looks like heading into the playoffs. Now, they'll get, the extra week with the play-in and all that. But that's really what I want to see because, it's to this point. Let's say he can play, but he's not close to 100% or whatever that is at this stage of the season. If they can, and they may be able to, if they can, you can play them in the first round, say it's the Clippers, Suns, whoever. But if you see that you're kind of in control of this series, even kind of without Wemby, and he's not 100%, I would be willing to sit him during that. Like if they go up 2-0 and they've been able to have their way.
What? Really?
If he's not, if the rest is going to help him get ready for Denver. Because they're not going to beat Denver in the second round if he can't be at the top of his game.
Okay.
So I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying if they have control of that first round series without him, then if he needs it, rest him then and get him as ready as you can.
So I'm glad you covered the playoff piece of it because to me this is a story, the biggest story yet of the 65-game thing. So, again, I don't even think people fully understand the rule. It sounds straightforward. You got to play in 65 games, but Devin Booker is going to play in 66 games this year if he plays every game the rest of the year, and he has no chance of being eligible. Because 2 of the games he played in, he played less than 15 minutes, and those don't count. Victor Wembanyama, if you go to his ESPN or Basketball Reference page, it says 63 games played. He only needs to play 1 more, however, because the NBA Cup, which doesn't count for his stats, counts for this. However, had he not gone back into this game, that game wouldn't have counted. Because and this is where we get very uncomfortable on certain things, which is, did Wemby go back in this game to make sure it counted for eligibility? Because within a minute of him getting past the 15-minute, you're allowed 2 games where you play less than 20, but at least 15 to where it counts. Wemby had used up 1 of those games already, got hurt when he had only played 11 minutes, came back, played 5, bumped into Embiid, and then went out. I do worry. It does sound like and I do worry for Wemby that he now, because of, we can all hate the rule, but the rule not only exists, it looks like it's not, Adam Silver's not going to listen to Brew's advice or our plea of just by edict change it. Fine. So now we're in a very awkward spot for the San Antonio Spurs franchise and for Wemby. He has made it very clear how much individual awards matter to him more than any young player I can remember. Yeah. It's not a criticism. I just think that's an objective fact. If the Thunder win tonight, the Spurs playoff seed is set. They are the 2 seed, no matter what. They cannot get to the 1. They cannot fall to the 3. Everything we know about the Spurs franchise would say, well, then they would rest their superstar freak player who just got hurt, who they have to have. Everything I think we know about Wemby and how badly he wants championships, he would be on board with that. But does anyone think Wemby's not going to suit up in another game? And it's going to be purely in service of winning Defensive Player of the Year and being first-team All-NBA? Again, I want people to understand that I am not criticizing that. I feel like that is exactly what I would do. If it's you got to do one more thing, it is a little risky, but it locks in for you. You're going to be on MVP ballots. I don't think he thinks he's going to win at this point. No, going to be first-team All-NBA and going to win Defensive Player of the Year. But it is a very unique situation that I'm not familiar with a precedent for.
Well, and also what it makes interesting too is remember he sat out a game a week or so ago, and I mean they said it was management, ankle management or something like that. So he could have played then. It's a tough one because understandably, all the players, if you're that level of player, you want individual awards, but the playoffs is obviously the most important.
You better not get hurt.
That's what I'm saying. Because, this was a very weird looking injury. Because when he fell, he was grabbing his shoulder, it looked like, but they're calling it a rib. He leaves the game. He then comes back, clearly is not really himself, hits the minutes mark, and then immediately takes himself out. After that, within a minute of it. Now, and so he's not, I don't know. I don't know what the injury is, and I don't know.
Well, I believe
I know they're calling
it giving it the proper diagnosis.
They're calling it the bruised ribs, right? But it's just
bruised rib.
If he gets hurt, the whole idea of the 65-game rule is to protect one part media, so superstars play and the media rights deal is still valuable. One part, I've saved up to bring little Johnny to the game. And those were the two main reasons. But in service of those two reasons,
if you lose Wemby for the playoffs,
lose one of the faces of the NBA for the playoffs, it will be a disaster, which is why we remind you, you can just cancel this for sport.
Yeah.
Right now, and again, but it also is worth noting, Joker and Kawhi are not yet eligible. We think they will get eligible, but they're going to make it by one game or by 2 games at the end of the year. The guys who we know are ineligible, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Luka pending appeal, and maybe Wemby. That first team All-NBA is going to be if Luka and Wemby aren't eligible, a Luka, Wemby, Ant, Cade, Booker ineligible All-NBA team is going to be better than the Joker, Jaylen Brown, SGA, Kawhi, Kevin Durant actual first team All-NBA.
It starts to open it up. We're not there yet, but the way that we view the Pro Bowl.
Yes.
Look, there's so many guys that don't make it. It's almost irrelevant if you make the Pro Bowl now. It used to be relevant, but now it's not. If
you've had literal reserves make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It was the year after Mac Jones made it. It really got out of whack.
You still have time.
It's very easy. It's just an email.
You still have time. You can do this. It's
put it on
ridiculous.
Twitter. I've made a decision. Celtics dispatched of my Hornets in the second half last night. Tatum had his 3rd straight game with 23 points as he comes back from his Achilles tear. Next game, back at Madison Square Garden, where he tore his Achilles in the playoffs. Take a listen to his very honest thoughts on coming back to New York.
Not thrilled to go back and play there. Last time I played there, obviously it was a traumatic, experience for me. Obviously, I knew at some point I would have to, get over that hurdle and, play there again. So it's going to have to be this Thursday, but it's not like I'm thrilled about it, but it's part of it. I decided to come back and play, so, not necessarily skipping certain games. I can't play back-to-backs right now, but, I decided to come back and play, so just another game on the schedule.
It's just another game. Also, totally isn't. Your reaction?
Well, it is noteworthy. This is the front end of a back-to-back, and he's going to miss the second one. So if he wanted to, he's going to have to miss Thursday or Friday. He and the Celtics are choosing for him to play Thursday and miss Friday, and I think that is super smart. And I think they're very fortunate, given he feels this way, that this game is still on the calendar before a playoff matchup.
Smart.
I think that I have been stunned in a complimentary way at Tatum's honesty and vulnerability publicly throughout this process.
Yeah.
And given that we know he feels this way, I think it's really good that it's not, in the playoffs, in the same round, in the same arena, you know what I mean, when he makes his first game back at MSG. And I also think he's playing awesome right now.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a really important moment in his not just physical, but kind of emotional recovery from this injury.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And he is clearly, whether it's just, I think even throughout his career to a large degree, but especially during this injury, you know, he did the documentary, like he's very open and honest about his feelings. He's not concerned about putting on the tough guy, oh, it's just another game, I'm good. But, you know, that type of thing that a lot of guys would say, and that's fine. He is open and shares his feelings, and some people might think that's vulnerable, soft, whatever. But I think it's refreshing. Beyond what you said, though, Nick, Boston also, because I think it's smart to have him play this game and not the Friday game. Yeah. Because, one, they do want to get that out of his head for the playoffs if they meet. And, two, Boston wants to send the Knicks a message. Like, the Knicks beat them last year. I'm sure the Knicks feel like, we beat them last year, we can beat them. That's definitely what they're telling themselves. Boston wants to go in there and put it on the Knicks and let them know, this is different. I actually think it would be different if they play each other. But Boston wants to show them this is going to be different. All last year, Boston was what we're saying about OKC right now. You know, like, oh, man, they're going to roll to the championship. They're going to win it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You guys are making fun
of me. Right. Yeah. And they obviously got clipped. They may have taken the Knicks a bit lightly. They had owned them in the regular season. I think they want to show them, if we meet you this year, it's going to be a lot different.
If he plays poorly, I think after the game he can say, got it out of my system. Yeah. If he plays great, I'm back. What do you think is more likely?
Oh, I think he's going to play really well. And I think, Dust, do we have time to just show his first 10, last 5? I mean, his first 10 games, he didn't, his jumper wasn't falling. He was still rebounding really well. And it looked like, okay, he's a greatly lesser version of himself. Last 5, that's better than his career averages in rebounds and assists and three-point percentage. It's just under prime Jason Tatum points per game. So 30 seconds here, Dust. Have you revised you were, in my opinion, overly cautious on his behalf.
Yes.
But now, not in a negative way, in a protective way almost. Now that you've seen this, do you feel differently?
I've never been happier to be wrong. That I was nervous that he was coming back too soon, that his competitive juices and a little bit of what he called a traumatic event, he wanted to put that in the rearview mirror, and maybe he was rushing back. But he looks great. He can also, I wonder if we could dig into those numbers. Josh, we got to stay late and dig into these numbers.
Yeah.
Is he shooting better, or is his shot selection different?
Oh.
I felt like early on he may have been settling for jump shots, and just recently, but again, it's just anecdotal eye test, he's getting to the rack a little bit more. So
he looks
really
great.
happy, yeah.
The other thing that's great for Boston fans, him and Jalen haven't had any conflict as far as just on the court.
Correct.
Like Jalen still.
It does feel like Jalen's squad still.
Yeah, and it should for the rest of this year.
This season it might be.
You tell yourself, no one wants your college-era band tees. But on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Hey, check out the podcast if you get a chance. It's excellent. The trivia original content is there. This week's was really tough. Danny said that he would be willing to cheat for content.
Danny every time Danny's won in trivia, with the exception of one time, cheated.
Wow.
Tough one.
Confirmed.
Well, okay. Now entering the No Bull Zone. Sponsored by Credible. Great rates, none of the bull.
Luckily, he can't fight either.
Giants started their offseason program. Jaxson Dart was there. And his new OC, Matt Nagy, very impressed. Take a listen.
I remember then at the Combine, us not really being in the quarterback market, watching him, just kind of observing how he handled himself in that group of guys at the Combine, and you could see this moxie that he had, and he had this it factor. And when I got here to New York and got to meet him and started talking to him, it was, you could tell right away that everything was true. I mean, this kid is different that way.
Okay. Worst to first in division, last 5 instances. Patriots, Bears, both this year. Texans, Jags, and the Bengals. Pats and the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. Does anyone believe that Jaxson Dart can take the Giants from worst to first?
It is. Leave that graphic up just for a second. So 4 of those 5 years, it was second-year quarterbacks.
Yep.
Burrow in his second year, the Prince in his second year, Caleb and Drake in their second year. CJ is a rookie.
And a new coach.
For
Drake.
For 3 of the 5.
Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
CJ, new coach.
Oh, yeah. And
not a
new
sophomore
coach for
quarterback.
Trevor. Yep.
Very interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Anybody want to go worst to first for the Giants? Open question. Coach Mendoza.
Yeah, I think it's in the realm of possibility. And when you look at that division, Dallas, who knows how they're going to come out when all's said and done defensively. But the Giants versus Washington. I mean, Washington's been up and down. Philly, all the drama that they've had there, that could implode. And with Jaxson Dart, he did a lot of good things last season. They finished with 2 wins. They scored 30-plus points in those 2 games. His touchdown-to-interception ratio was good. He didn't turn the ball over that much. My concern with him is going to be more whether or not he can tone down this bravado that he has. I know we talk about moxie and aggression. All that stuff is good, but if you're not able to play because you're hurt, then you're no real use to anybody. And I think that could be as much of a limiting factor for him as anything. But you also infuse a veteran head coach in the organization and that stability. Yeah, it's on the table for the Giants.
I'm not predicting stardom for Dart, although, if he does well in New York, he'll get a boost as far as, his image and stuff. And I don't necessarily think they'll win the division, Coach, but I think they could maybe be a wild card, finish second and be a wild card. And you said you're right, Dart, his interception ratio was really good. Touchdown ratio was pretty good. And that was all without his best receiver, Malik Neighbors, who got hurt before he started playing. They were 4-8 with him. They were 0-5 without Dart. And so he definitely gave them a spark. For all the hoopla about Scadaboo, they really didn't have like a great running game to support him either. And so, and I think to your point about his, bravado and just reckless play, I do think Harbaugh can sit down there and be like, look, I've had the greatest running quarterback ever. And he slid. He got out of harm's way. You won't survive in this league if you keep playing this way. So I think he has a credibility, not only because he's been a very good coach, but because he coached a running quarterback even much better, obviously, than Dart. So I think that there's a chance that Harbaugh can get through to him. And, yeah, they could make some noise this year.
So I would be stunned. And if Dust, I don't know if you can throw up that graphic again, just because the through line, and so which is why this is a good question, of those 5 teams that did it, it was all quarterback driven. Now, yes, coaches were good, but Joe Burrow went from hurt to awesome. Yep. The Prince went from an awful rookie year to top 7 MVP finish. Everybody remembers.
That one's debatable.
Top 7 MVP. So, I mean, do with it what you want.
He caught fire though.
He caught fire at the end of the year. CJ was we were calling CJ's year the best rookie year ever until Jaden. And listen, I think Caleb and Drake both benefited from excellent coaching jobs, as, by the way, did CJ.
Yeah. And an easy schedule.
Yes, but the quarterbacks were, for all of those teams, their star player. Like, you know what I mean? The leading from the player side of it. If the Giants are to go from worst to first, I don't think Jaxson Dart's play will be on the Mount Rushmore of reasons. I think it will be, for the Giants about Harbaugh, it will also take a true collapse in Philadelphia. For Philadelphia to fall to...
Which isn't off the table.
No, I'm not saying, but... So you need that. You also need the Cowboys to not fix the defense and Jaden to not have a bounce back year. You need all of those things to happen and Dart to be solid, but I don't think Dart is going to reach out and grab it the way I think some of those other guys
Can
did.
I sell you on the NFC East feeling more like the NFC North, where every team is pretty good. The last place team is pretty good. Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears. Caleb just so happens to be the best, but they were all right there.
Here's the problem for me on selling me on that is, it would be, I think that would be the path, that none of them bottom out, or one of them maybe does bottom out. And the one, to me, that'd be most likely would be Washington, just because if Jaden is the quarterback most likely to get dinged. I don't think the Giants winning 12 games is realistic. And I think winning that division, you probably need to win 12 games. I think that and again, and I'm not a huge buyer in Philly, but Philly's going to fall off entirely, and Dallas isn't going to bounce back, and Washington isn't going to bounce back. Yeah. That would be surprising to me.
I didn't think New England's bounce back was going to be as big as it was.
You didn't look at their schedule enough, Coach. We didn't know they were going to play literally the easiest schedule this millennia.
Head to Jacksonville. Liam Cohen looking to build on his first year with former Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year Trevor Lawrence.
Just Georgia.
I looked it up.
That's been misrepresented.
I mean, again,
there's 50 Gatorade Players of the Year per year.
And what's the best high school football state? Everybody knows it's Georgia. So if you're the best in Georgia, you're the best. Who wins all the national championships? Georgia. Where do they get their players? Georgia. Everybody knows that.
Trevor finished 5th in MVP voting, and Cohen thinks he can do even better. Not about MVP, but just really performance. Take a listen.
This dude is tough. I do think he's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, takes shots, gets up, doesn't say a word, has played hurt, has missed time.
Good coach, but
then, and look, 4 new systems, multiple different head coach situations, OCs, whatever it is. Go throughout the season. And you find out, I mean, doesn't miss a single practice, doesn't miss a single throw in practice.
Right.
Played the whole season. Obviously, MVP finalist, comeback player of the year finalist. Did some great things. There's so much room to continue to improve.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're excited about attacking.
Trevor's last 6 games.
Well, that seems good.
We like to do this with Trevor when he catches fire.
Yeah.
Well, if you take about
don't do
6
it.
games
Don't do it.
7 games.
No, that's not what it is.
3 from his rookie year.
No,
I mean,
it's none of that.
Patchwork quilt up the career.
Ask the question,
19
and I'll do
touchdowns.
The bit. 19 touchdowns, 1 turnover.
He was
that
on
seems
fire.
good.
And he had,
as you would say, left the field with the lead against the Bills, then took the field again through a pick. But left the field with the lead late in the 4th quarter against the Bills.
He finished 5th in MVP voting.
Yes.
Didn't get any number 1 votes, but Justin Herbert did.
Yeah, but finished 5th.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe Lawrence can improve on his 5th place finish, get up to 4th?
Can he win MVP? Of course he can. Of course he can. Listen, Trevor has played 5 years in this league. 2 were objectively excellent. 1 involved.
Excellent?
Well, I mean, listen. Both
excellence.
2 years he finished top 10 MVP.
Yeah.
One's 7th, one's 5th. But the year he finished 7th, he won a playoff game in stirring comeback fashion after digging himself the hole, admittedly, but still did it. So that's 2 of his 5 years were, in my opinion, excellent. His rookie year was an abject disaster, and the year before this year was an abject disaster. The one we will argue about forever was his 3rd year, where they enter Monday Night Football playing for the 1 seed at 8-3. He gets brutally injured, has to walk himself off the field because they don't have a cart in that stadium.
Brutally injured.
And
did he miss any games?
No, because he's so tough.
No,
he's not here, Liam Cohen. And I feel like that injury derailed what was an awesome season. They were 8-3 going into that game, and so we'll always argue about that 3rd year. There's no argument to me about years 2 and 5 were great, and years 1 and 4 were disasters. He's only 26 years old. I think this is the best offensive mind he's been with. I also think this roster is the best it's been since he's been there. Mm-hmm. And he should have the most weapons he's had since he's been there, assuming Travis comes back, whatever side of the ball he's on. So, yeah, I don't look at that division as overwhelming in any way, shape, or form. And I think we are, Josh is dealing with a new head coach, as is Lamar. Patrick is coming off the injury. There might be an opening, where the guys we normally see atop the MVP ballot. And so, yeah, I think Trevor could win the MVP. Of course he could.
I like it.
I miss the days when Nick used to wear the blonde wig all the time. And he coined the phrase, the prince that was promised.
Oh, don't do
and
it
there was
yet.
so much excitement and optimism. So look.
I think we threw it away.
We put it away for the offseason.
Wow. You don't have it ready?
In the basement.
I thought you always had that.
And my
handy.
Jester helmet.
Well, the Jester helmet is
that's
ridiculous.
unbelievable. All right, go ahead. We got 30 pairs of leather gloves for Marcus. Can't have my blonde wig. So go ahead.
So I'm gonna side with Nick in the sense of I'm hopeful that he's in the MVP conversation. I'm hopeful that he plays up to expectations. And there were two objectively good seasons that where you look at it and you say, okay, this guy could potentially.
He's a hard
that's true. This could potentially be something special. So I know he doesn't believe the Giants go from worst to first, but he believes in this because he's a little bit biased. And so I'm going to side with him because I really think it'd be good for business if he was in that mix.
Look, MVP, we know you have to have a great record and have a chance and win your division, obviously. He can do that.
Yep.
I do think Cohen, he was great with Baker. Baker had his best season. Obviously, he's good with Trevor last year. I do think he'll be in the he could be in the MVP mix because they'll have a good record.
Everybody.
Here's what I'll say, and I wonder if your opinion on this. I don't think he can crack that kind of top 5 we've got. Now, if he wins the MVP, you almost got to throw him
They'd have to win MVP or make the Super Bowl for him to be in that.
Yeah, like I think he could, like even last year, it was a lot of it was he played well, but the record, you know what I mean? Like record is a big part of it. So I don't think he'll, like I said, crack that top 5 of Stafford and Lamar and those guys.
I agree with that.
I think he could have a higher ranking than him.
Currently 13th best odds, tied with Jalen Hurts.
K-pop demon hunters Haja Boy's breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Texans picking up the 5th-year options for C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. League sources say that Will Anderson Jr.'s contract extension is the priority. Nick,
Well, yeah,
as it should be.
Well, C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback, I think. Does anyone else believe in C.J. Stroud?
I know you said you didn't want this to be the topic, but this is where my brain goes. I apologize. I certainly would not pay him this offseason.
No, that was smart.
And no, that is not decided yet. This is I'm saying even whether you're paying him or not, picking up the 5th-year option is what you always do if you're paying the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But picking it up doesn't mean you're going to pay him. But I am like legit scarred, in my opinion, of him from that playoff run. Not the playoff game against the Patriots was the worst playoff game anyone played this season, but the game before that they won was in the running.
5 fumbles.
He had 5 fumbles. You go 5 fumbles to 4 interceptions in back-to-back playoff games when from his rookie year, his touchdowns are down every year, his yards are down every year. All of it feels like something, the thread was lost a bit. And I'm not even going to do the lecture that led to the losing because at this point I think everybody understands that did happen. But I am not writing him off, Coach, but I certainly would not make the Kyler Murray mistake of paying a guy after year 3 because he was awesome as a rookie. And I know Kyler actually had another, solid year after that. I would make him wait at least 1 more year, and I wouldn't be opposed to letting him play out his rookie contract and then seeing what's what.
Yeah, I agree. Based off of how much he's fallen off in those 2 games, that was tough to watch. You want to make sure that he's gonna show some sort of consistent level of play, And don't make the mistake that so many teams make where you rush to pay these guys, and then a year into it, you're like, oh, we got to move on. Now you're sitting on $50 million, $60 million, whatever it is of dead money that you can't get out of. So I totally agree, Nick. Let him play this out, see where you are after that, even if it costs you more money. Let's say he hits a home run in that final season. Fine, you'll be happy to pay that money, but at least you'll have the certainty organizationally that this is your guy moving forward, not just guessing and then eating a chunk of money that hurts you for years to come.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I wouldn't even think about paying him now. I mean, unless he was like, I'll take $20 million a year or something like something ridiculous. And I think they have him. Look, I think they're going to get a good read on him this year. You obviously have the very good defense. You've got Nico Collins is a good receiver. Maybe it looks Tank Dell could be back. And then they went out and got David Montgomery, like a really good running back. So if he doesn't play well this year, if he continues his decline, you kind of know, okay, it's not happening. You still might keep him for next year. But I'm just saying, I think they have put him in position where you got some talent around him. You're set up to play well. And if he doesn't,
I want to see the offensive line.
I'm
get
hopeful
a little bit
for
better.
him. Yeah, I mean, his rookie year, he didn't have a great offensive line. You had people in and out of the lineup. I'm hopeful for him, and I would love to see him get back to his rookie year and above, but it's been a downhill run.
When we had predictions week, Coach, did you have him as an MVP candidate?
2 years ago.
Yeah. Are you surprised at how far he's fallen?
I'm surprised that I made that decision.
Really?
It was very out of character for me to do that. Nick pointed that out throughout the entire season, and I will not make that mistake again.
I'm just surprised that we're
too
here.
early.
I know. We've seen his play decline, but it's a quarterback falling off like this without a major coaching change and without a major injury.
Well, he keeps switching coordinators, but
That's true.
I totally agree with you though, KW. Especially because it didn't feel fluky his rookie year. It wasn't, none of those numbers felt luck-based or hollow. Like, oh, he has these crazy numbers, but when you dig into it, it's, he has been crazy lucky on 3rd and longs it wasn't based on like raw, crazy athleticism. We've seen some of those guys, pop and then fall. It wasn't based on, oh my God, look at this insane talent around him. Who wouldn't succeed? It was, go ahead.
It felt like he got the yips. It felt like he was pushing so much. He had so much
playoffs
last year. Well, he had so much success, and it is very important to him, and he does the right things, and he works hard at it. And then when he didn't have success, it's like watching a guy who, typically can make 1,000 foul shots and suddenly can't hit the rim. It didn't.
In the playoffs, he looked shook.
Yeah.
Like definitely that against.
It's almost like beating them in the playoffs doesn't really.
Well, they're the best defense.
You know you need fiber for a healthy gut, but do you actually know how to get it? Quaker's been serving up fiber since 1877, with over 100 great-tasting, good source of fiber options to choose from. Whether you like old-fashioned oats, instant oatmeal, granola, or oatmeal squares, Quaker makes it delicious. So good. Get your fiber with Quaker. Shop Quaker's good source of fiber products at a store near you.
Live from New York, show it's counting down to the World Cup. World Cup Wednesday on First Things First, also the second hour of First Things First. Today is a league MVP in Fernando Mendoza's future. Wow. Some analysts say yes. Coach Mangini, I don't know what he says, but he's not comparing him to an MVP. Meanwhile, John Strong is here for World Cup Wednesday. Talk about Ajuman's Achilles injury, not good for us, and Pulisic's cold streak, which I don't think he's worried about, but I am. But right now, let me get you caught up to speed on what's been going on in the hardwood. Last night, while trying to convince me to play poker, even though I don't know how to play poker, I think it's just a way to take my money. No. An elite committee of experts, analysts, and people who have never even seen rounders talking about poker all the time fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports. It's an honor. It's a privilege. It's time for tears.
Well, now I have to explain that to the audience, because Brew, you're invited as well.
Oh, that's real?
Yes. Let me explain what it is. Dear friend of mine and legendary comedian Hank Azaria has charity poker events. One of them is with the Mets at Citi Field in May, and he's probably watching right now. Nobody's a bigger fan of this show than Hank Azaria.
What about my mom?
He invited.
They can have
both of them. He invited all of us. I'm the defending. I do happen to be the defending champion of the event, but he invited all of us. I said. So I mentioned it to KW. I was going to mention it to you. So you guys can tell me.
I don't know how to play poker.
I used to play in high school.
People would just love to be around you. People would pay extra to come and buy a seat to have your witty repartee.
But then I would just be like, oh, let me see the flop.
Yeah, there's a lesson beforehand.
But then I'm like, oh, let me see.
Time for the tiers.
Do it.
Brew, we'll see if Brew is a very busy schedule. Brew has a lot of dinners. He has a lot of stuff going on.
Well, now that I'm not doing the radio.
Yeah, that's true. Eliminated.
Doing the radio show for 3 years.
These teams are eliminated, and on a night-by-night basis, they are helping to eliminate some of the credibility of the regular season.
Yeah, they are.
And I think Danny's going to get into this later in the OT. But these playoffs better be awesome, because the end of the regular season has not been, and it's been, not only these playoffs better be awesome, this draft class better be the 03 draft class plus the 84 draft class with the way teams are tanking to try to get these players. All right, a crowd favorite amongst tiers. Again, cancel the play.
Even
Draymond. Draymond's like, we don't need it. The only hope they've got is the play-in. Draymond's over. Draymond's like, we're going to win 37 games. We're going to get clocked in the first game of the play-in. Let me end the season early. Miami probably should have just called it after Bam's 83 points.
You're right about that.
Just
Irish goodbye the whole season.
Exactly.
Like,
right.
Are the Heat showing up? Like,
Is
nope.
it that that was not Heat culture what they did?
Oh, wow! What a take.
I'm just saying.
You think this is
everything
basketball karma coming back at them? Now the Blazers, I think the Blazers have overachieved this year. Their head coach got arrested after game one. They're in the mix. They might actually, they have a shot to make the real playoffs.
They have a budding star.
Right, in Avdia, and I don't know if he's in Scoot lately. Not selling all my stock yet.
Yeah.
Wild's wandering eye. Orlando Magic fan, they're like, all right, Hornets, enjoy it while it lasts. We've been there.
Yeah,
you're
not
one.
Into the Magic.
You're
flirted
one.
with the Magic. That was just a summer
You didn't
fling.
flirt with them. The Magic were your Hornets.
They were first.
And next year, who do we think, Brew? Next year, I bet, and it's not going to be the Pelicans because they already have done it. Might be the Mavs. The Mavs might be, but no, they have Cooper Flags there. They're too good.
I can see.
I don't know. The Bucks
Right now,
after they trade Giannis.
No,
it's just gonna be.
I was pulling for the Hornets last night.
Bulls, I don't know.
I know, right? So listen, the Magic were the Hornets before they actually became a legitimate playoff team. Now the Hornets are the team that Wilds is enamored with. And by the way, I'm talking about next year. Hornets, I'd watch your back. You could have your man taken by the Atlanta Hawks any day now. It's on the board.
I like winning.
Can we get to a game 6 in round 1? That's what the Clippers, Suns, and Raptors probably have higher hopes. I don't know if I agree they should, but the idea would be game 6 in our building. Can we get there, win that game, and all of a sudden be in position to shock the world? Clippers or Suns beating the Spurs or the Thunder. And the Raptors, I think the Raptors will be decided underdogs, whether it's the Knicks or the Celtics, whomever they play in round 1. Can you get to a game 6, be at home, and see if you can force a game 7? Potentially dangerous. Cavs, Hawks, Sixers. I don't mean to win a title, but I mean in the Eastern Conference, we will see how the bracket falls. I don't think you can write off any of these teams making the conference finals.
Yeah.
I think the Hawks have, I know, again, they've had a lot of games against tankers, but not all of them. And it's now half the season they've been on this sick run. Right. The Cavs, again, I don't believe in Harden, and I don't believe in the Cavs in the playoffs unless LeBron James is on the team, but still, and the Sixers, they do have a big 4. I know Danny talks about Cleveland's big 4. The Sixers, when healthy, do have a big 4, potentially dangerous. Modern medicine miracle, question mark. I think if Luka comes back, the Lakers are live in any series. I think he's that good of an offensive player. I think we've seen that. Now, live to win 4 series, almost assuredly not. But live in any individual series, I think so, and I think we have proof of concept of that. We also do have proof of the Luka, LeBron, AR, Marcus Smart lineup was awesome with a net rating of plus 14 per game in the games they played. Unfortunately, we're almost assuredly not going to see one more minute of that lineup together, and we might not see one more minute of Luka back at all, much less AR. If he comes back, I think the Lakers become live again. If he doesn't, obviously they are not. You see the vision. Timberwolves, Rockets, Knicks. Or you at least saw it going into the year. Timberwolves like, we're back-to-back Western Conference finalists. We're going to run it back, have Jaden McDaniels get better, another year of Julius Randle in the system, Anthony Edwards continue his ascension. The Rockets, we need a guy who can hit jump shots at the end of games. What if we had one of the greatest jump shooters ever in Kevin Durant? And the Knicks, listen, we've been banging on the door, run it back. For different reasons, none of those 3 teams this season has gone the way they had hoped. The Rockets, it was injuries and then tweets. The Timberwolves just seemed fine, but not popping. And then now Anthony Edwards' runner's knee. And the Knicks have been in that same, they're not bad. They're a good team, but they haven't ascended. One would hope that come the postseason, the offseason vision can actually come to fruition. The Rockets are playing the best of any of these teams as of late. They also probably are the team we believe in the least, but they also might get the easiest round 1 matchup, and the Lakers without Luka, I don't know. I'd be insulted if I were the Pistons. I don't blame them if they are. If you're a Pistons fan, you're like, all right, so we were the number 1 seed all year. Yeah, we were the number 1 seed all year.
Yep.
You didn't believe in us. Cade goes down. You're like, all right, they're done. We keep winning anyway. We got 3 guys on the king of the hill. Cade, Jalen Duren, and of course, Dennis Jenkins. And still, nobody's talking about us like we're contenders. We got a much better record than Denver. We have a much better record than Boston. We're damn near have the same record as the Spurs. Nobody's giving us a shot. Detroit, I'd be insulted if I were you. Godzilla versus Mothra, it's catching on.
This thing is not working.
Really? Did you not see this on the internet? I didn't make this.
Here's the thing.
Look.
I just want one other
person who made this
even fan of the show.
Someone tweeted this to the show.
No, I think you made that.
You think I know how to make Photoshops? I don't even know anything about comic books.
Neither do I.
Exactly.
I just don't think this is resonating.
Okay. Well, just wait.
Wemby's head is so much
Whose
bigger.
claws are those?
What do you mean? That's Mothra. Wemby.
Yes.
Wemby.
Why are the claws so close to the head?
I don't know. Reverse wingspan. I'm just telling you, and we can go back to the cheers. Please be healthy, Wemby, and please let us get this for 7 games in round 2.
That would be great.
Brew, not to give you a pop quiz, but the last really great playoff matchup between 2 all-time big men, off the top of my head, I think it was
Great question.
03 Spurs-Lakers.
Yeah,
Lakers going for the 4-peat, and
Yes.
Duncan ends up beating them.
Yeah.
And obviously you got Dream, Robinson, you got the
Dream Ewing in the
finals.
Shaq.
Yes,
in the finals.
which
is the one you might compare to this, because Shaq or Hakeem took it to Shaq.
Yes.
Shaq still put up great numbers, but Hakeem outplayed him, and that similar, the veteran and the young stud. So
great. Also, Taco Bell commercial out of that thing with the doubles burrito. You guys remember that?
No, I do.
The Hakeem Shaq, I
remember that.
Triple-decker burrito or something, or taco, double-decker taco. Doesn't matter. We just want to see Jokic
Taco Bell
that'd be awesome.
in round 2 for 7 games.
On route.
The safest bet, the Celtics. The safest bet I think you can make that's a future is the Celtics are going to be in the finals. I think that's a safer bet than Oklahoma City being in the finals. I think it's a safer bet than anybody winning the title. I think it might be a safer bet than what the Western Conference Finals matchup is gonna be. The safest bet is that Boston is going to be playing in the final game of the season.
Yeah.
However, there's no way I can argue right now they're the best team, and everything seems to be coming up OKC. And by that I mean, not only are all their guys getting healthy, they also all of a sudden have, if they had picked the bracket, couldn't have picked, I think, a more fortuitous one, where we don't know how the play-in's going to go, so we don't know who round one's going to be. But the fact that on the other side of the bracket is going to be Minnesota, San Antonio, and Denver, and that to make the finals, to make the conference finals, they are likely going to have to beat either Houston or the limping Lakers, while those other teams have to go to war with each other. That is the absolute best possible bracket, and I think that's how it's going to fall. And they're healthy, and they're about to have the MVP, and they've been the best team all year.
Let me ask you this. Do you have a good tiers?
Yeah, thank
you. Do you have a preference? Let's say OKC gets to the conference finals.
Yes.
Would you prefer them face Denver or San Antonio, just as a fan?
Denver.
Really?
I want to see, yes, because I would like to see Jokic and Shea in a series. I know they're a different position, but they have been the statistically defining players of the last 3 years in this league. They've never played in a series. No, I'm sorry. They played last year, and it was a great 7-game series. I'd like to see that again.
I think not because I like the Spurs.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the Spurs just because of the way the Spurs handled them in the regular season. And if they beat Denver in the second round, that means they're kind of playoff hardened. So that'd be a great series. But I like the tiers, but I'm going to move Cleveland ahead of the Lakers. So basically switch the Cavs and the Lakers.
Okay.
I don't believe in Cleveland either, but I do think they have a better chance than the Lakers do at this point. I think the Lakers probably go home in the first round because of injuries. And the Cavs, look, again, at some point, Harden will, have his struggles in the playoffs, and they're just kind of been mentally soft anyway. But they beat Detroit with Cade later in the season, their last matchup, I believe, of the season. Harden didn't even play. He was on the team, didn't play that game. And they beat New York, the Knicks, by 15 points with Harden. So they are a better team with Harden. And, they look like they kind of want that 4.
Yeah.
So that's Detroit in the first round. I mean, Cade, we certainly hope he's healthy. But like I said, they beat him with Cade. I just think Cleveland has a better chance of getting to the finals than the Lakers do, so I would move them ahead of.
I think that's fair. I think I would revise it in this way, as odd as this sounds. I think Cleveland has a better chance of getting to the conference finals than the Lakers do, but I think the Lakers have a better chance of getting to the finals.
I think the Lakers got to the conference.
Yeah, I think it's more likely Luka has an amazing recovery and puts the team on his back than Cleveland wins 3 straight playoff series with the team as presently constituted. But I could see Cleveland, like you said, getting to the conference finals and Luka never coming back, the Lakers just being dead.
Man.
Go, KW.
Bonus take.
Oh.
If you have to write the word miracle on the tiers, just saying, I don't think, even though I do trust European medicine, I don't think you deserve to be in the middle of the pack. If you're really based on a miracle.
Nice,
like it'd be a miracle I don't think it'd be a miracle if the Hornets got to the Eastern Conference Finals. It'd be fortuitous.
Can I give you a counterpoint to that?
About miracles?
Yeah.
Sure.
If we did the tiers in September, and I had 8th, what is that? Yeah, the 9th on the tiers, the Celtics, with the name Modern Medicine Miracle ? Saying, if Jason Tatum can somehow be back and be at near full strength by the playoffs, I think they're dangerous. We would have that was
he was aiming for the playoffs.
Back in September, we didn't know that. Back in September, nobody thought that Jason Tatum was going to be back this season competing for a championship.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
you didn't. You didn't think
I
he
wanted
should
him
come
to
back.
stay. I wanted him to stay out.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All
Get
year.
to your real thing.
Time to start talking about the Hawks. Briefly, okay? We've been kicking around, is it time, is it time? Brew was flirting with it. Nick has been a flat no. Here's the bottom line, folks. The Hawks, they're pretty good, okay? Before the All-Star break, they were not good. Their main story was about a promotion that got canceled.
Yep.
After the All-Star break, turns out, winning games. Defensive rating is the best in the Eastern Conference. Defense wins championship. And offense rating, they got better at offense and better at defense. This is a Josh special because Josh is from Atlanta, obviously. The play-in tournament, if they avoid the play-in tournament, it's just the history, okay? They make the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just the way it goes. They've gone to the play-in tournament 4 times. The last time they avoided the play-in, they got to the Eastern.
Last time.
I mean, sometimes they miss the playoffs, but in general, they go to the Eastern.
No, I got you. Okay. All right. So in the last 5
And
years,
that was
they
a
played in the play-in 4
strange
times.
Yeah, they love the.
And the one
love
time
the
they didn't, they made the
I will say that we've seen, like, nobody expected that Trey led them there, Trey Young. Last year, nobody expected Indiana. Weren't they the 4th seed, I think? And to go all the way to the final. So we've seen some strange things in the East recently.
Yeah. This is the real Josh special because I don't feel totally comfortable with this Josh, to be honest with you. 22, 10, and 8 assists. We'll go in reverse chronological order. It's Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Russ, Joker, and Jalen. So it's a impressive list there. So yeah, he should be on all NBA teams. Turns out he's an all-time legendary player.
Well, listen, he's obviously not an all-time legendary player, but that does speak to how rare it is to have a guy his size pass the way he does.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So like it's the combination of those rebounds and those assists. I bet that list is not that different if you just remove points. If it's just guys to
10
average,
rebounds, 8 assists?
Yeah, I bet that list is somewhat close because the rare part is the rebounds and the assists coming like that. He's excellent. He's excellent.
They're in really good shape, Atlanta.
And it also speaks to the value in moving on when you know it's not going to work. They traded Trey Young for not much, and they were like, we just need to turn the page. They've been great.
And CJ McCollum.
Saturday night baseball night on Fox. This week, the red-hot Red Sox and Roman
They won
Anthony.
last night?
Yeah, one game against the Cardinals, or former Red Sox Rafael Devers against the Orioles. Baseball night in America, Saturday, 7 Eastern, only on Fox. Welcome back to the show. Coach Mangini's here. 15 days away from the NFL draft. ESPN put together some draft comps, but then we comped coaches' comps for the ultimate comp-off. First up, Mendoza, Raiders bound, compared to former MVP Matt Ryan. Coach, do you like it? And who's your comp for Mendoza?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting comparison. I really liked Matt Ryan when I got to know him during the quarterback interview process, and I understand why that would be a comp from a personality standpoint. I looked at it more from a guy that I worked with Chad Pennington in New York, where 2 guys that are more precision as opposed to power. Both guys very good accuracy, excellent ball placement. Very rarely do you see Mendoza put the ball behind a wide receiver or put in a place where the guy doesn't have a chance to get it. And I think that's a really strong trait, as well as his processing skills. And when you look at Chad's career, twice he led the league in completion percentage, once he led the league in quarterback rating, and he was hurt at different points throughout his career, or else I think he would have had an even higher ceiling. Yeah, it looks like I ate well that season. And so those 2 guys, and Chad was an excellent leader. He was well respected, and he was incredibly smart and disciplined. And I think that's what the Raiders are hoping that they're getting in Mendoza, to where, who knows how it's going to go the first year, but it's going to continue to get better based off his traits.
Yeah, I don't hate that the Pennington comp. I mean, the Ryan one I think is good too. I don't think Mendoza will reach that MVP level. He's bigger than Chad a little bit. And like you said, Chad was just hurt so much. Yeah. But I'm going to give you guys a comp I bet you might like. I think you may like. How about Alex Smith? Obviously, number one pick. Overall pick. But size about the same, smart player, and a good quarterback in Kansas, like at his best. In Kansas City, you could make the playoffs with him. He was good, made a few Pro Bowls. So I think maybe an Alex Smith.
So I wonder, it's the comps on the ESPN article were interesting because they were called comps. To me, I read them more as best case scenarios because there were no. It was all excellent players. It was all excellent players that are comped to. But even in comping, like, if a Raider fan was told, hey, you can press this button right now, and Fernando Mendoza will have Matt Ryan's career, I think half Raider fans would be like, no thanks.
What?
No,
I don't think informed ones.
But the point, I don't feel that way. Here's the point that I'm trying to make here. I think the promise of number one overall pick quarterback, I think for a lot of fans is like, well, he's going to be, the best quarterback in the league at one point. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Like that is, so I think that that's one of the taxes of being the number one overall pick in that certainly I think Raider fans are hearing coaches comp and being like, that would be a disaster. And that, by the way, would not be, the injuries did hurt Chad, but that would not be a disaster. Like Chad, like quality starting quarterback when healthy. But I think it reminded me of when the Marvin Harrison Jr. was coming out of college, and was one of the big comps was A.J. Green, and people were like, he's way better than that. And it's like A.J. Green's like borderline Hall of Fame player. Like, I just think there is for the super highly drafted guy. You understand what I'm saying?
Like you win Powerball. Like, how much did you win? Like $1 million.
And so
won $500 million.
And so because my comp. The reason I bring it up is my comp and this is before they signed the player, for Mendoza was Kirk Cousins, as far as less style and more where I saw him falling in the quarterback hierarchy. Like perennial.
Kirk was what, a third round?
He was a third round pick, but perennial solid starter. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? That you could put up good numbers, you could win with him, all those things. But obviously, I think Raider fans would hear that and be like, that would be awful. But
Kirk Cousins, the fallacy of the number one overall
correct.
pick.
Yeah. That's the point that I'm trying to get to. Kirk Cousins' career is better than your average number one overall pick quarterback.
Yeah.
But Raider fans, so that's why
they want Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you want
it'd be great if he were Matt Ryan.
Of course, yeah.
It'd be great if he becomes.
Yeah. Next up, Arvell Reese. Nick's mock had him going to the Jets at 2. ESPN comped him to Micah Parsons.
Pretty good.
Very good. Coach, your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this with I like Arvell Reese, okay? And this is not me saying he's going to be a bust. This is not me saying that I don't think he'll have a lot of success. This is just a cautionary tale based off of my very personal experience. So when my last season with the Jets, we had the 6th overall draft pick, and there was a great linebacker out of Ohio State named Vernon Golston. Okay, now I want to show you Vernon Golston's numbers versus Arvell's numbers.
These are their college numbers.
These are his college numbers. So both same size. Vernon was a little bit bigger. The 40's a little bit better over on Reese's side, but that was a long time ago. I think Vernon's 40 would have been better. 31 games for Vernon, 30.5 tackles for loss, 22.5 sacks, okay? He broke the single season sack record at Ohio State with 14.5. He was a junior and underclassman, bench pressed 37 times, okay? So it looks like on paper, from a production standpoint, outstanding. From a combine measurable standpoint, outstanding. But Vernon was a little bit of a projection, just like Reese is. Is he truly an edge rusher? Well, there's some good qualities there, but not truly that. Is he truly a linebacker? Well, there's questions about how well he's going to drop into coverage. So anytime you make these projections, you don't know what you're going to get out of that guy. And with Vernon, we thought he was a can't-miss candidate, and it ended up, and Vernon's a great guy, and I'm not to hopefully bring up too many bad memories for him, but it just didn't work out for him from the projection standpoint and the way it ended up. So it's, and this, we're talking about the Jets too. So I'm sure the owner remembers Vernon from Ohio State. Now they're sitting there at number 2. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for more of an established pass rusher or established position player.
So would you feel better about Reese? Because a guy I respect a lot, and who used to scout linebackers in this league, Ollie Connolly, talked about Reese as, if you just evaluate him as a linebacker, not edge rusher, he's not only the best linebacker in this class, one of the best pure linebackers to come out in many years. Would you feel better about him if he was specifically one position? Like the Micah Parsons, the reason I think they're making the Micah Parsons comp is that was the question. Micah played linebacker at Penn State.
Glass half full. You can move him around.
Well, and edge rusher is more valuable in the NFL by pay scale and by impact than, middle linebacker or off-ball linebacker. Would you feel better if he was just designated as he's going to play linebacker rather than we'll figure it out?
You always feel better if you're evaluating a guy without having to project him somewhere else, because you don't know with the projection whether or not he's going to meet the expectation, and that's why it's called a projection. And if you can just evaluate a guy as one core spot and feel good about it, then you go up and you make the draft pick and you move forward with him in that spot. But that's not really what we're talking about with this player.
All right,
the root word of projection is project.
Oh, thanks, bro.
I mean, that is a little negative.
It's also getting fired.
Head to Miami, Reuben Bain Jr. Nick, your mock had him at 9 to Kansas City. ESPN said Brandon Graham. Coach, who's your
Another great player.
Yeah, he's a great player, and I understand why they're making the comp from a physical power standpoint. But I wanted to look at it a little bit from the limiting factors. And we talked about his arm length, and we talked about his hand size, and the challenges that guys with those measurables have had in the league. So I looked for a guy who is very similar. And when you look at Kalijah Kancey from the Bucs, they're very similar. So we can pull this up. Okay, in terms of pure arm length, you're looking at guys that are almost identical. Hand size is identical. And with Kancey, he was drafted 19th in 23, and he's had some success. He has 11.5 sacks over 2 years, hasn't been able to play a full season. It's a little bit different because he's been an inside player, where we're talking about an edge player who's going to work inside on sub downs. But that being said, the arm length and the hand size have been things that typically don't translate into a lot of success, although Kancey has had some, but not probably as much as they had hoped
Kancey's been, with respect, he's been somewhat disappointing as the 19th pick. He would be very disappointing as the 9th pick. And I have so much respect for your opinion on this stuff. This comp frightened me. Because Bain falling to 9 has kind of been my, ideal, realistic scenario for the Chiefs. Like, there's better players, but that I don't think are realistic fall to 9. But I do care about arm length. I care about it more with tackles than with pass rushers, but I care about it with pass rushers. But he felt like he was so destructive and competitive in college, in the biggest games against the best teams, that I kind of fell in love with him in the playoff run. But that comps.
Yeah, and then the tackles for loss were almost identical in college. Yeah. He had a few more sacks than Kancey had, so there's similarities between the guys. And look, at least he's been productive with those numbers as opposed to being a total bust.
Yeah, so that one worries me a bit. They worried me.
You're going to move off of that.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, in mock draft.
Caleb Downs.
Is he going to be there?
He could be. Safety, those guys tend to drop a little bit.
That wouldn't be bad.
World Cup Wednesday with John Strong. Next on First Things First.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Joining us now is the voice of Fox Soccer, John Strong. John, thanks for joining us. We're going to jump right in. Patrick Agyemang out of the World Cup with an Achilles. What was your reaction to hearing this news?
I mean, more devastated for him more than anything else. Patrick Agyemang has had an incredible rise over the last year, from playing college soccer to getting into MLS with Charlotte FC, playing for the U.S. and having a really solid month last year, going over to England in the second division there and having a ton of success. You know, he was a depth piece. He's a backup option, but those things are important. You know, it's not just about how do you start these games, how are you finishing games? What are your options when you're chasing down a goal? What are your options later in the tournament when guys are getting suspended? So it's absolutely a blow to not have him, because Mauricio Pochettino and his staff loved Agyemang's physical profile, the way he plays the position. But as ever, every World Cup is littered with stories of guys who get an opportunity because something awful has happened to someone else. And so whether that's Haji Wright or someone else, it's their job to kind of step into this void and make sure that at the end of the tournament, we're not sitting there going, gosh, if only Agyemang hadn't have blown out his Achilles, we might have done X, Y, or Z.
It does obviously open up one of the 26 spots on the roster for someone who otherwise maybe wouldn't have made it. But who do you think is the biggest question mark as far as should they or should they not be on the 26-man roster?
I think the biggest talking point and probably the most enigmatic player we've maybe ever had on a U.S. men's team is Gio Reyna.
I like him.
He is unique from the standpoint that he's always had this potential. He always has these flashes of brilliance. He has struggled to consistently put it together at his club. You have all of the drama that goes on off of the field at the last World Cup. He is a player for whom Mauricio Pochettino has basically not thrown out all of his existing rules, but has been willing to change his existing rules about who he's bringing in and who he's not. I think Gio will be at the World Cup. I think he is a guy that is capable, absolutely, of being a difference maker in key moments. I mean, Gio's 23. It's easy to forget how long he's been around and how well he's been known, how young he still is, and how much he's still not even a fully mature, fully formed adult human being. But I think Gio will be at the World Cup regardless of the Agyemang injury, and I do absolutely think Gio will have an opportunity to be a game changer in a pivotal moment for the U.S. It's just a matter of whether he is able to take advantage of it.
Team USA, we obviously need Christian Pulisic to be at the top of his game.
Bless you.
First, what do you attribute his cold streak to, or this recent slump, and when is it time to start worrying about that?
I think it's a testament to what Pulisic has done and has been the face of this team, the star of this team his entire adult life. I mean, it's a decade now since he first debuted. That anytime he is not performing at the level we're used to, I think there's a panic that runs through the fan base. You know, Pulisic for a long time was in this pattern where he wasn't playing well and he wasn't playing much at his club team, but he would come into the United States and look like his old self. That was sort of his safe place to come to, and he would be phenomenal. And what's happened now in the last year or so is it's kind of reversed. He's gone through actually a really good stretch, certainly in the fall, until he got injured at Milan. But it wasn't translating in. It's been almost 2 years now since Pulisic has scored a goal for the U.S. It's been that long since I think he's delivered a signature performance for the U.S. I would say this, though. I think Christian Pulisic, as I said, his entire adult life, he's been the face of this team. I think he has earned the benefit of the doubt from all of us that when the game kicks off against Paraguay on June 12th, he's going to be ready to go and he's going to be ready to perform at a high level. But absolutely, I think for his own sake, and I think for the sake of the fan base, it would be really beneficial to see him continue to build to 100% fitness and get back into the rhythm at AC Milan the final month and a half of their season that he was showing in the fall, for sure.
So we lost our 2 friendlies by a combined score of 7-2. I think we've got Senegal coming up in a few weeks. Senegal's no pushover either. We've got Paraguay as our first real game. How important is it for us to start off strong in game 1?
I think it is the most important game, at least until the next most important game. I mean, what history tells us is that the U.S. men at the World Cup, if they win or if they tie their opener, they always advance to the next round. If the U.S. loses their opener, they always go out in the group stage. And soccer is a sport that is sort of disproportionately weighted towards the opening goal of the game. It's not decisive, but it's a low-scoring sport. And momentum and psychology play big roles. And so I think it is of massively vital importance that the U.S. starts with a win, if not at least a tie, against Paraguay, which is not going to be easy. We beat Paraguay in the fall, but this is a team that is very good at being destructive in games, being defensive in games. They're not going to give anything away. They're not going to make mistakes. It's going to be up to the U.S. to carry the game and make the game, as we would say, as compared to the games against Belgium and Portugal, where the U.S. is doing more defending, they're doing more chasing, they're looking to counter. So relative to the friendly results, it's tough. Those are like preseason games, ultimately. It's much more about the individual than it is about the result. And even had we beaten Belgium and Portugal, I would have come here and said that's a guarantee of nothing great. It's wonderful, and it gets people excited. That's the missed opportunity in the friendlies, is getting the casual fan excited. Ultimately, it's a matter of when the game kicks off with Paraguay. And that's the great unknown for this team, because they have neither at Copa America or anything else the last 3.5 years, they haven't really done anything to show us, oh, obviously they've taken the next step forward since the last World Cup. And really for a fan base that is high anxiety at the best of times, they've done nothing to sort of convince us, hey, don't worry, we got this. This World Cup's going to be great. That's where that fear and anxiety comes in, and that's where that pressure, I think, really builds on this opener against Paraguay.
Yeah, and I mean, in my humble opinion, losing to Paraguay in the opener would be a catastrophe, particularly now that the group just got tougher because Turkey won its mini tournament to get in. I understand it's the expanded field, and now 32 teams advance to knockout round. A tie against Paraguay is fine. Losing would be a catastrophe, which brings me to this before you go. Bright side of hosting the World Cup is you get to play in it no matter what. Downside is you don't have to be in top form leading into it like all the teams that had to qualify for the tournament did. Do you think that is what's showing up in those last two friendlies, that we didn't really have to be good, or was there more reason to be concerned from those results?
Nick, if I'm being honest, this is an hour-long answer, so I'll try to condense it as best I can here. I think
clear the commercials.
It's absolutely true that there is a uniqueness about being a host at a World Cup because you don't go through that fire and brimstone of qualifying. We've seen really interesting examples. At the last World Cup, Qatar, as the host, they were the reigning Asian champions. They had high expectations, and they completely crumbled and folded under that pressure. They lost the opening game of the tournament to Ecuador. They went out in the group stage. It was a train wreck. 4 years before that, Russia came in as host of the 2018 World Cup with rock-bottom expectations. They had been terrible the last 2 years. They were asking players to come out of retirement to play for them at the World Cup. Those players were saying no. But they beat Saudi Arabia in the opening game. They took advantage of some injuries on Egypt to win game number 2. And by that point, day 6 of the tournament, we're struggling to get back to our hotel in St. Petersburg because there's tens of thousands of drunk Russians on the streets celebrating the fact that they had advanced to the next round. So all of those points are true, and that is the great unknown, is how are they going to react in that big moment? How are they going to react when the bright lights are on and the ball is kicked off? None of us know. Mauricio Pochettino, I don't think he really knows. That's exciting. It's terrifying at the same time. Welcome to the World Cup, folks. This is what makes it so special.
I love it. John, thank you very much. We'll hear you all summer long. Hope to have you back on the show soon.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
More First Things First after the break. Live from New York, it's First Things First overtime. We don't pound the desk, okay? It's Danny's show. You're not
I'm pounding the desk.
Today, Thunder win on the verge of clinching. Is Parkins taking the Thunder or the field? Meanwhile, are we buying stock in Jaxson Dart? His OC is. Did he talk about his arm strength or his spiral rotation?
No.
Nope. The
Aura.
it factor. Yeah, the aura. Yeah. He's Jacob, that other guy.
Huh?
The guy from Euphoria, the tall guy. He's in Wuthering Heights.
Jacob Elordi?
Elordi.
You've been hanging around Gianna too much.
Jacob Elordi. That guy's handsome, though.
He is.
So tall.
He is.
He's got
Wuthering Heights.
He's got good hair care products, it feels like.
Yeah.
And finally, the coolest segment in all of sports.
Speaking of cool.
Stats, yeah. Cooper Flagg's cool, I'll tell you that much. Alongside Chris Broussard and Kevin Wilds, Nick Wright, and Danny Parkins. Danny, we are excited for the cool stats today. Out of all, if you were to rank, because Top 10 Tuesday,
yeah,
we're a day after it. Like I view this as almost like post-game Top 10 Tuesday. Take all the cool stats segments. Where does this upcoming cool stats segment rank?
Top 3.
Wow. What?
Really? Good job not saying best ever, because we wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Top 3.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we got some good stuff for you.
The best, remember the best one.
Of course, how could I forget?
Legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
Thunder rolled the Lakers last night. JJ Redick was furious.
He held him accountable.
He held them accountable, benched Vando, swore at Rui, and then said DeAndre Ayton couldn't catch the ball. Meanwhile, OKC is just like, whatever, this is what we do. The number 1 seed, if they win tonight, still in LA against the Clippers. Danny, are you taking the Thunder or the field?
The Thunder. I still think we as a show and as like a basketball populace are underrating the Thunder. Maybe because of style points, maybe because of market size.
We need something to talk about.
Maybe we need something to talk about.
I don't think it's that, but go.
Yeah, but I don't.
So it's for me.
You're just answering for you and you alone. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's a separate conversation. So I'll just make the Thunder case. But like they are a perfectly constructed basketball team.
Oof.
And they have been that now for a sample size of going on 2 years. And last year, the playoffs were a little bit more turbulent than I thought it was going to be with Denver and Indiana. But so far this year, they are basically exactly running back last year.
Yep.
Record, they obviously have 3 more games still to play. Point differential, very similar, clearly best in the league by far. Offensive rating, defensive rating on down the line to SGA's eventual back-to-back MVP coronation. They are doing basically the same thing this year as last year, except the majority of the time without who I would say is their second best player, Jalen Williams, who has...
Chet was out a lot last year.
Chet was out, and Chet has been much better this year than he was last year. Jalen Williams, in the 6 games that he's played since his return, hasn't had like a 30-point game yet, hasn't had a 40-point game yet, but he's been a very efficient player, 49% from the floor. Playmaking has been excellent. And I guess why I feel like we underrate them, last 50 years, wins over 2 seasons. The Bulls, the 2 Warriors seasons that are around the 73. So it's the year before 73 and 73, then 73 and the year after. And then this current Thunder iteration, which is about to pass, the Bulls of their second three-peat era when, they win 1 more game of their last 3. So their youth, their defense, their consistent dominance, their MVP player, I don't really see a flaw in the team.
So
to be totally honest, I don't see a flaw.
So I don't think they have a glaring flaw. I agree with that part.
And every other team does.
Well, but sure, but I don't think. I think both of your graphics go to why I will take the field. Can we run back Danny's first graphic? Because you're right, they are very similar to last year, except a little worse. The record is a little worse. The points per differential
there's 3 more
is
games
a little
to go,
worse.
So yeah.
Well, they're not going to have
but they
minus losses.
They're going 68 to 66.
Right, it's a little worse. And the point differential's a little worse, and the offensive rating's a little worse. Defensive rating's a little better. And Shea's numbers are a little worse. And last year, they were in a dogfight with Denver, who had just fired its coach, and a dogfight with a Pacers team that no one believed in going into Game 6 of the finals. People still were like, this Halliburton Magic can't keep up. And listen, they won the championship, and maybe they would have won it if Tyrese doesn't go down. Maybe they wouldn't have. But so I think this Thunder team is a little worse than last year's. And the graphic that you showed, 2 of those teams only won 1 championship in those the 15-17 Warriors, right, only won 1 championship, and the 14-16 Warriors only won 1 championship because both of them ran out of steam, or they ran out of steam in 2016, or they didn't win, or LeBron took it, however you want to put it. And so I think the West is tougher this year. I think if they make the finals, it will be a better team with respect to last year's Pacers than they had in the Pacers last year. And I think what we have seen represented time and time again this decade is defending your championship is always harder in May than it feels like it's going to be in April. 4 of the last 5 champions on April 8th of that year, it looked, now they weren't as dominant, it looked like they're going to win again, and all of them got popped in round 2. Didn't even make it to the conference finals.
So let me just address both those points real quick, Blue. I do think this team is uniquely positioned to repeat and buck that trend because you talk about run out of gas. All of their players are young. Other than Caruso, who's 32. I mean, SGA 27.
So were the Celtics, right?
But SGA 27, Chet 23, J-Dub 24, Wallace 22, Lou Dort 26. They're all young and in their athletic prime. And the idea that their rating and all that stuff is a little, a point worse, don't you think that would be made up for if they had all NBA, all defense, all-star Jalen Williams for the majority of the year? And now they do at this moment?
Last year they did what they did without having Chet for the majority of the year, and then they had him for the playoffs. So to me, not having Chet last year, not having J-Dub this year, and I don't have any evidence for one reason or another that this team is better with Jalen Williams on the court. There's no evidence of it. The
guy scored 40 points in a finals game.
He's a great player. He hasn't been that guy this year for them. I'm with Nick. I'll take the field. The last 2 champions, we felt the same way we feel about the Thunder. Maybe to slightly different degrees, but Boston was looking like they were going to run through the league and win the championship again. Denver before that, we thought, could do the same thing. And even with that happening, I might feel as you do and I get it, I'm not going to I've seen many times in my decades of covering the NBA, I've seen many times when a team in the regular season swept even a team, and then in the playoffs it was different. Just last year, Boston had its way with New York, and it changed in the playoffs. However, what I saw with the Thunder and the Spurs was alarming. Yeah, that's when nobody, including me, thought the Spurs were even a contender. And then when they did what they did to the Thunder, time and time again, won 4 out of 5, and 2 or 3 of those games, the Thunder were like, no.
Yep.
All right, timeout. We about to show you who's the best. And they still got beat.
Yep.
And it
wasn't because Wemby
Wemby wasn't even full strength for a couple of those games. And
Jalen Williams played in multiple of them.
Yeah, and so if they play the Spurs in the conference finals, which it'll be, that means the Spurs are hardened now. They will have gone through Denver, an experienced team like Phoenix or LA in the first round. They will be ready if that happens. And I just think they do match up well because they got the speed, they got the youth, the same as OKC, and the depth.
Brew, can I ask you a question? You're big on experience, but if they met in the Western Conference Finals, your experience narrative would be in the garbage because they had won.
Well, it would just be the Thunder aren't incredibly experienced themselves. Last year, we had the question about them. Now, again, they did win the championship. But, I don't know that you could hold that against the Spurs if they beaten Jokic in the second round.
I think, I'm not to speak for Brew, I could see a scenario where Brew feels like Denver will beat the Spurs, but if the Spurs beat Denver, they're going to win the title. Like that, I could see that feeling
that would say a lot about the Spurs.
They might not get there, but if they get there, then they have now
first time in the playoffs versus the. Okay.
I mean, go.
Well,
ahead.
I guess I would just say
it's not that different from how the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets. That team didn't have a bunch of playoff experience together. It was the second time in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then they won, and then they sort of peaked too early.
Yeah. No. Well, okay, I see what you mean. Okay,
we did it.
You
didn't.
Got you.
I guess the other part is, and you alluded to it, Nick, in tears, this path is pretty sweet. for Oklahoma City.
That's right.
Like,
to the conference finals for sure.
Well, right, and so maybe the Spurs are a tougher matchup for the Thunder, but they might not even get there.
Right.
And in order to get there, they probably will have had to play, I would imagine we would all think that would be a 6 or 7 game series between the Spurs and the Nuggets. And I got to assume most of us believe that if it is Thunder Rockets or Thunder Lakers, that is a 4.
It's a quick series.
That is a quick series, so they will be the more rested team. They are the They are the number 1 overall seed again. So any game 7 would be on their home floor, which mattered last year immensely in the finals and in that series against Denver.
I think Boston could beat the Thunder.
Of course, Boston.
Could.
Of course they could.
So are you not at all concerned? Is probably too strong, but your enthusiasm tempered by the fact that the Thunder were as juggernauty last year in the regular season, and in the playoffs were shaky. Yeah. I do not think the Thunder were great. Shea has scored 20 points in 150 straight games, except for the 3 times last playoffs when he didn't.
It was 2 injuries that helped them win it.
And
Aaron Gordon and obviously Halliburton.
And that, listen, I'm not putting an asterisk. I'm not doing any of that. What I'm saying is when the noise around OKC is officiating related, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the playoffs started, and they were not as good. Now, again, they won the championship. They have the guy that's going to win the MVP. But I think there was maybe some concern. The 15 Warriors were this regular season juggernaut that was not a playoff juggernaut. And then in 16, it turned out, oh, that's right. They were a regular season juggernaut even more, and then down 3-1 in the conference final.
It wasn't just that Cleveland beat them.
Right. They were down 3-1, and then they lost. Yeah. The Warriors with KD were a different animal. Like that to me would temper me a bit on that. The Thunder, I agree with you. The path is setting up very well. I said it myself, but
So the thing about them that I absolutely know, they are the best defensive team. And that doesn't slump. That will travel.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other great defensive teams.
Sure.
San Antonio's great. Detroit,
the ratings and the points would say that the Thunder are a class above. There's a distance between them as the best defensive team and the second best defensive team. So like Boston could have bad shooting for a time in the playoffs. Like that can slump like it did in their series against the Knicks. They will have home court. And one of the things we said about the Thunder last year was how experienced are they? Look how young they are. So I think there's a reasonable that they should perform better in these playoffs because they have more experience and know what it takes to get it done.
That part, it definitely works in their favor. The 2 straight 100-game seasons target on your back has just proven to be too much for everybody. And I think the finals is going to be Thunder Celtics. So I obviously think that they are positioned incredibly well to go back-to-back. But I think them versus the field is a little too rich.
It's been too much for everybody, as Nick said, except Jordan.
Great news, everybody. It's Wednesday on First Things First Overtime, so it's a time.
A few guys have gone back-to-back since Jordan.
You said 100 wins.
Right?
100, whatever that was.
Where we look at some cool stats. They're in a briefcase, of course. It's time for Packed Stats. Danny, your leather gloves?
Leather gloves.
And
you know he wears these on Wednesdays when he goes home.
We're supposed to reveal that.
What is our
That's
first
personal
stat?
I'm glad you asked, Wilds, because you know what else is cool?
What?
Trying. NBA teams should try it. Draymond Green was exactly right.
Yes.
The playoffs cannot get here soon enough. Eliminated teams against top 6 teams over the last month are 6 and 59. In a sport with a salary cap and a salary floor among professional athletes, that should never happen. Average point differential in those games over the last month, 16.5 points, but it's even worse than that. 25 of those 59 losses have come by 20 or more. 16 have come by 30 or more. And 25 times they've been down double digits in the first quarter. just straight up non-competitive basketball.
No,
it's an epidemic.
It's terrible. I mean, this last month and a half, whatever it is, half of the night's games are unwatchable. And you cannot get a gauge on, is Houston really playing great? Are they clicking at the right time? Because they're playing a bunch of tankers. To me, Danny, the answer is simple. The lottery's no longer weighted. 14 teams in the lottery, you all have the same chance to get the number one pick.
There's a bunch of ideas behind it. This is, not only is this not my idea, it's one specific person's, and gosh darn it, I can't. So someone who's listening will know who it was because they said it publicly. And I heard it, I was like, I love that idea. And that was after a certain date, call it game 60 or whatever, wins count as losses to your lottery odds. So if your record is 15-45, and then the rest of the season you go 10-12, then all of those wins count as your losses. So for the eliminated teams, winning games helps your lottery chances only in the final quarter of the season. Something has to be done. What I will say is, because Shams reported during our show, the NBA is going to investigate what happened in Sacramento last night and whether or not it was objective tanking or, as Shams put it, just a strategic mishap by Doug Christie. As someone who has a little more investment in the Kings than most and maybe has watched a little more Kings than most, let me tell you, my money is on strategic mishap by Doug Christie. But it is an epidemic.
They got to fix it and just enforce your tanking rules.
Well, that'll work.
That would be a start.
It ain't cool.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, tanking ain't cool that way.
No, trying is cool.
It's the coolest. But you guys know what else is cool?
What else is cool?
Thanks for asking. Child prodigies.
Oh, that's true.
Cooper Flagg is still 19 years old. And I understand Con Knippel is a great three-point shooter. But Cooper Flagg needs to be the the Rookie of the Year because he's actually playing like an MVP. Over the last month, that is the entire list of players who are averaging more than 24 points, more than 6 boards, and more than 5 assists. It is a multi-time MVP with the Joker. It is a guy who's got a shot at finishing top 5 in Jaylen Brown. And then, of course, Luka Doncic, who we'll see what happens with the 65-game restriction. Con has been an amazing story and a great shooter, but Cooper Flagg, a 19-year-old superstar, future potential face of the league, he's been remarkable.
Brew, can I ask you a question off of this?
Yeah.
Prior to those 2 huge scoring nights, you still had Con as your Rookie of the Year.
I hadn't dug into it the way I will when I do my official ballot, but I was thinking Con. It's possible I may have just looked at it and been like, Cooper is the better player, has been better. But I don't think there's any question he's been the better player.
Yep.
Cooper. And Con, though, is doing it in a winning. That's the argument for Con. He's been great, but he's doing it in a winning situation, somewhat winning situation.
Barely about 500
right now.
But he's also not being asked to carry.
No, right, exactly. He's the third leading scorer on his team.
Correct.
And he's actually faded a tad lately.
Listen, I agree with you on Cooper Flagg. This is the one award where I care almost none about winning.
Of course.
Can I just throw a little wrinkle before we get to third cool stat?
Yeah,
Something
please.
we haven't talked about at all,
By all means.
even though we've talked a ton about the Spurs. Do you think Spurs front office at all is like, Dylan Harper, Con Knippel, could have had Con shooting, who's already ready, evidently, to be part of winning. On they're a little, there's a little redundant at guard, not redundant, but they have Castle and Fox already.
Right.
Going into the draft, everybody felt like it was Flagg 1, Harper 2. So I'm not criticizing them for it, but with the benefit of hindsight, do you think any of them's like, wow, for our chances of winning the title this year?
That's what I was going to say. For this year, I think you want Con. For the next 10 years, I'm pretty positive.
Yeah, Dylan looks like he's going to be a star.
I agree.
He can help their defense some, but that's an interesting thought.
Good.
You guys know what else is cool?
What else is cool?
String quartets.
Oh, wow.
You guys know I love a big 4. And when the Cavs Big 4 plays,
my God.
It's music to my ears, baby. No, I'm not letting it go.
What?
Now, less than 100 minutes together.
You don't believe this.
Of course I do.
They're getting to
It is the best defensive rating in the NBA when Mitchell, Harden, Mobley, and Allen are on the court together. and their offensive rating also would be first in the NBA. Now, is it only 76 minutes?
No.
It's only 76 minutes. Hold on. But
probably against Tank.
they've been resting Donovan Mitchell. In the game against the Warriors a couple of nights ago, they played 15 minutes together and were dominant.
15?
Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, James Harden, Donovan Mitchell.
Are losing before the conference finals.
Well, we already have that bet. That is the toughest matchup for Boston.
This is not a top 3 cool stat segment. You're
String
on
quartets?
String.
It's music to my ears.
I mean, I do like the quartet music to my ears piece, I will admit. And I do like that Danny, every once in a while when you're a professional takesman, you give a take and I think sometimes I walk off the set and I'm like, oh boy. Am I going to lean into that one or am I going to hope the other guys forget because I'm going to have trouble defending it? I feel like Danny, when he debuted, the Cavs are going to the finals, walked off and was like, had to make that decision. And he decided, you know what? I'm leaning into it. I'm in.
You are leaning.
I respect it.
I think it's a good balance. Where like, you know who's I think is going to win, who has great defense? The Thunder. and the Cavs. Like, oh, let me lean into this one.
In fairness, I gave that take before Tatum came back and looked amazing.
Oh, okay, well.
I'm just saying.
Take away everything.
Yeah. Tatum's been a little better than I thought, but the Cavs, still scary.
Also, shout out Danny's youngest son, Eli, who evidently really likes my tie.
Oh, shout out to Eli.
During the segment.
Yeah,
great.
Eli's a big
Thanks
fan
for
of the
watching,
show.
Eli.
Hey, thanks, Eli. Coming up next, Cool Stats is over. It was top 3. Are we buying more stock in Jaxson Dart? Next on First Things First Overtime.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at the OT. We got Coach Mangini and Willie Colon here on the desks. Let's go down the street where the Giants are holding their offseason workouts. They're one of 10 teams with a new head coach, so they're able to start a little early. New offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, shockingly, high praise for the new quarterback he gets to work with, Jaxson Dart.
I remember then at the combine, us not really being in the quarterback market, watching him, just kind of observing how he handled himself in that group of guys at the combine. And you could see this moxie that he had, and he had this it factor. And when I got here to New York and got to meet him and started talking to him, it was, you could tell right away that everything was true. I mean, this kid is different that way.
So Matt Nagy obviously buying in, a lot new in Jaxson Dart's world. Will, you buying stock in Jaxson Dart? You a believer?
Yeah, I'm a believer because they do have Matt Nagy. I think he's going to give him some structure. He's going to give him a chance to kind of hone in some of that aggression. And also, they got Brian Callahan, too, to be his quarterback coach and pass game coordinator. So I think we're going to see somebody who's a lot more polished, a lot more focused, and give him answers at the line of scrimmage. I would expect some design runs, some, quick answers with RPOs. But I think for Jaxson Dart, it's not just about being, having the confidence and the moxie. You also want to see him be a closer, right? They have to close games better, and that's some of the things I expect in year 2.
Yeah, there were a lot of encouraging things throughout the course of the season. Finishing the season with 2 wins, scoring over 30 points. He had the 15 touchdowns throwing the ball. He had 9 touchdowns running the ball. Only the 5 interceptions. There were 2 turnovers. On fumbles, I'd say my biggest concern is his sack percentage. It's almost at about 10%. And then when he's running with the ball, it's a classic thing that we talk about with quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, is the idea of they want to show how tough they are, and that's fine. And they want to send a message to the rest of the team that they have those traits. But the greatest ability is durability and availability. Right. And when you're constantly putting yourself at risk, it's not a good thing. So that moxie part of his game, it can be really good, but it could also be potentially damaging.
All right, well, so we've got agreement out here, but because I want to buy all of the stock. I want to have a non-diversified portfolio and own a huge position in Jaxson Dart. I was just wrong about him early, and I don't think I had watched. I don't know if I had not watched it close enough, or some of the noise about the concussions. It's like, oh man, is he reckless? And you go back and you watch it, and it's like, he is a little reckless, but I would imagine some of that can get coached and improved with maturity. But he has what they're calling it factor, moxie. He has like a very high ceiling. He makes risky throws, but he completes them. And I know I'm a Caleb guy, but it kind of reminds me of that Caleb Mahomes ceiling type where it's like he runs to throw. He believes he can make every play on the field. And you mentioned like the low interception numbers. he had a lot going against him. Like Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors played in 4 games.
Yep.
So he gets a true bona fide star #1 receiver back this year. He adds Darnell Mooney, who's only 27 years old and has been a very productive player when healthy in the league. He adds Isaiah Likely. He adds a new head coach, which should just raise the overall stability of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
They have the 5th pick in the draft. He has a year of understanding how the league works. I think there is a lot. He has a lot going for him going into year 2, 3, and 4 that he didn't have in year 1. And his year 1 was still pretty impressive.
I really like the Isaiah Likely pickup. I
huge.
thought he was really good in Baltimore. And whenever you can add a tight end to the mix, especially for any quarterback, for a young quarterback to give him that type of answer and sort of the short to intermediate area, I think is positive. And you do have a head coach that's got a ton of experience and should be able to calm things down organizationally in an organization that's had a lot of turmoil.
Yeah, you talk about calming down. You talk about, seeing him and looking at Caleb Williams. I see him and I see Josh Allen. It's solely because Josh Allen early in his career was kind of like this wild horse. You just kind of had to rein in a little bit. I see the same thing happen in Jaxson Dart. I can expect this year and the next year, man, where we take that aggression, that moxie, that athleticism to kind of put on that hero's cape. We see all that dialed down to where he's more of a complete and polished quarterback under Matt Nagy.
Well, and so you have the 5th pick.
Obviously. Go get Jeremiah Love.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, you have a chance to have.
Not a Scattaboo guy?
Well, no, I just think you have a chance to build a really athletic, impactful young core with him, Neighbors, Scattaboo, and Jeremiah Love.
Likely.
And Likely. That's dynamite right there, right? Something the Giants haven't had in a long time. I don't think you pass up on Jeremiah Love if he's available.
Yeah, it's a big question because then you're thinking, okay, if you got Neighbors on one side, if you had another guy on the other side that could actually take some pressure off of him, that gives him a lot of good answers. Look, I love running backs, and I love the idea of being able to establish a consistent running game. And with Scattaboo, it's a little bit like Dart. How much is he going to be available, and how well is he going to come back from the injuries that he's had? So, giving him a running back that you can
with hands, by the way.
Yeah, you give the ball 15, 20 times, or at least 15 to 20 touches combined with running and catching the ball in the backfield.
But whatever it is, like if they add a piece on the offensive line, and you gave him his version of Penei Sewell, or like whatever, like if you gave him another offensive piece with the 5th pick, whether it be a running back, a receiver, or a lineman, and it hits, and you have competent coaching, and you get Neighbors and a tight end, and I don't think that they'll do Carnell Tate or a receiver because of the Darnell Mooney signing. It's just they've got the makings of a very interesting offense, and I know it's going to be everyone in the world's going to pick them as like when we do the who's going to go worst to first. Yeah. Everyone's going to pick either them or the Lions, who technically finished in last.
But I don't think
in the NFC North. But like, there's a real ceiling here.
But I think you talk about worst to first. But I think it's a legitimate case considering that Jalen Hurts and everything that's going on with Philly and A.J. Brown, what that offense looks like. Jaden Daniels is coming off injury. Dak Prescott, I feel like their offense is going big time, but the defense is a little bit behind. Like the Giants could shock the world next season because of Jaxson Dart and the way the rest of this team is panning out.
And when you looked at how they played defensively versus how they were projected to play defensively, there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball that didn't come anywhere close to where it should have been. So if we can see, maybe it's not huge improvement, but even marginal improvement.
Well, if they can stop the run, they're in it. That's the only thing that held that defense back. They can stop the run. They can get after the quarterback, but so many teams were winning on first and second down. Now they cooled off their pass rush.
Do you think he's just a polarizing player because it's New York and the jewelry and the moxie and the concussions? But like, if all three of us are like, yeah, he's got it. He's got that it factor. He has that ceiling. I'm surprised he's as polarizing outside of these walls as he is.
Well, I don't know if New York loves or doesn't love the guy that comes in with that much bravado without any kind of resume. Like in New York, you got to show people that you can do it as opposed to just tell people that you can do it.
Well, I think Brian Daboll showed us. I mean, he ran in the blue tent and got fined and didn't care.
Brian Daboll loved it.
He's our guy.
We go inside the OT War Room next. We are 15 days away from the 2026 NFL Draft, and we want to take you inside the OT War Room, where every day we are talking the biggest storylines ahead of the draft. We have Super Bowl champions, Coach Eric Mangini, Willie Colon, and myself taking the biggest stories. I know, I don't have rings, okay? You can stop reminding me.
I like the and myself part.
I'm here too, okay? 4 combined Super Bowls, and we are today taking calls on the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are going to be very well represented in this draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Players like Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and Caden McDonald are all projected to go in the first round of the draft. And so, Coach, we asked you, with all of your experience and, yes, your Super Bowl rings, to look at the defensive players for Ohio State and tell us which of those 4 guys is your favorite.
Yeah, well, look, I would love to have all 4 of those guys.
That's not allowed.
If you took those 4 guys and put them on any defense, you'd be really good in a hurry. And it was hard to make this decision, but the guy that I went with was Caleb Downs, and that might have been my bias from coaching the secondary for a long time. But when you look at a guy like Caleb, he's unique in a lot of different ways, and he adds value in a lot of different ways. So he's able to play multiple positions. He's been extremely productive. He's the first freshman to ever lead Alabama in tackles, which is amazing. And that's a really complicated defensive system. And then you go to Ohio State, and with the addition of Matt Patricia, it became much more of a pro system, and he excelled in that as well. So he played a lot of spots on the defense, but outside of that, he was a force multiplier. And what I mean by that is he was not only able to produce himself, but the way that he communicated, the way that he studied, the way that he was able to make the other guys around him play better is also an important part of this equation.
So there's not a ton of ball production there, right? There's not a lot of forced fumbles in the stat sheet, not a lot of sacks, but a ton of tackles, not a lot of interceptions. Can you show us what impressed you? Like they put it out on film.
I definitely would have liked a little bit more production in terms of turnovers, but I think those can then come. I think his ball skills are good, not great. But let me show you a tape and show you a little bit of what I'm talking about in terms of his versatility. So here, he's going to be playing man-to-man defense, and he's going to come down to take his offensive player. But as he reads inside and takes a look at the quarterback, he doesn't bite on the play action. That's important. And then he comes up and takes on the blocker on the outside, which means that he's going to either force that guy back into the rest of the defense, or he's going to make the tackle. So he takes that guy on and is able to make the tackle. Here he is as an inside player working as a slot defender, and you can see him as a blitzer. He does a really good job of timing this up and not showing it off the jump. Out here in the red zone, he's again in man-to-man coverage. He's on the back. It's going to be hitched with a corner out behind it. Now he again peeks back at the quarterback because his player is running a short route, anticipates the fact that they're going to run the corner route, drops back, and makes the pick in the end zone. So those things it's not about just understanding the defense, it's understanding what the offense is going to do to you as well. And there's layers to being a really good player, and a lot of that is not just based on skill, but it's based on understanding of what you do, but also more importantly, understanding what your opponent's going to do.
All right, so Coach, you like Caleb Downs as a first-round talent, but that safety, that's kind of it's a polarizing thing. This is like the cousin, basically, the defensive version of the Jeremiah Love running back conversation. There have just been, in the first round, last 20 years, 6 safeties taken in the top 10. Eric Berry, the only one on that list, who signed a second contract with the team that drafted him. So I guess, Willie, you've seen Coach's tape here. We know his versatility. We know his production. How high is too high to draft a safety like Caleb Downs?
Yeah, I don't really fall into that narrative or believe in that narrative. I feel like if you have a guy and you feel like he's a fit and he can transform your defense, then you go get that guy. And I think if you have a guy who's can really have an immediate impact like a Caleb Downs, I feel like you say, hey, man, I like this kid because he reminds me of XYZ. Now, he reminds me of Budda Baker. When I turn on the tape, I see Budda Baker right away, solely because his ability to right here, look at Budda right there on the left-hand side, shoots the B-gap, clean tackle, makes a big tackle on Alvin Kamara. Look at Caleb right here on the right side, on the line of scrimmage, gets through the traffic, sees ball, get ball. Great tackle in the backfield. Love that, right? This is Budda right there, right? Like the Rams are trying to rub him out this way so they can get a quick pass to the running back. Budda says, I got this. Big tackle on the outside. Caleb right now, look at him. Instinctive, downhill, falls into coverage, sees what's in front of him, puts his eyes on the ball, boom, big time tackle. So when you look at Caleb Downs, I just love the fact that out of the 4 guys we mentioned coming out of Ohio State, he's probably the cleanest, right? I think when you turn on his tape, you talked about Matt Patricia, that, you know, at Ohio State, they used him as a chess piece, right? He could play it all over the secondary. He could play down in the box. He can play in the back end. So I think he's probably, out of that 4, he's probably the most complete player.
I've seen draft analysts say that he might be the best overall player in the draft, which again was like Jeremiah Love, but that's a running back and a safety. So Budda Baker, 2-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, obviously a great player in this league for a long time. Coach, what about you? Is there too high to draft a safety given the position, even with the versatility?
As much as I like him and think that he's going to add real value, it is hard as an organization and as a coaching staff to take a safety that high, because you run out of those big bodies pretty quickly, and typically the difference between the high-end big bodies and the back-end guys, whether we're talking about edge players or interior defensive linemen or offensive tackles, is so significant that if you don't get one early, you might not be able to get one later. So it's a real discussion that you have to have about whether or not you want to take that position that high.
That's why all the GM types will say it's like best player available, but also at a position in need.
Yeah.
And then premium positions will weigh in there too.
People say that all the time and then draft need or then draft
right.
Yeah.
And so I think Caleb Downs is going to be a fascinating case study for that. So all right, so we've seen now the player, and we just showed you the history of the position of where Caleb Downs can join that group of guys in the top 10. But now let's actually put on the GM hat here a little bit and go with best fit for Caleb Downs. And I'll go first, and he has been mocked here, so it's not the most original thought, but it feels to me like a dream scenario for Cowboys fans and for Jerry Jones if Caleb Downs is sitting there at 12. Couple of reasons. Everyone loves the intangibles, and you mentioned what he did at Alabama and at Ohio State and a national champion. They need an identity on that defense. They really struggled as a pass defense last year. I mean, we can show the stats. I mean, these are horrifying numbers. Those are bottom 2 across the board in rating, touchdown, and yards against. But also, if you do have concerns about the premium of the position, you've got the 20th pick in the draft. So you can take the best player in Downs and then maybe go for more of a project upside piece at a more premium position like corner or edge rusher. So I would say Dallas.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting fit. There's so many teams in the top end of the draft that desperately need help in the secondary. Washington's an interesting place as well, knowing Dan Quinn, and Dan does like to be multiple, and Dan does like the idea of having versatility. So they need a lot of help, but this could really be a piece again to fill not just multiple spots, but to give him that leadership. Granted, he's young, but give him that leadership and that communication in the secondary and on the defense that seemed to be missing it at a lot of times last season.
Yeah, for me, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he'll be a perfect fit. You talk about him being in the secondary with Brian Cook, 2 young guys. And the Bengals need help on defense. You just lost Trey Hendrickson. The pass rush won't be there. At least you can cover. At least you get a guy who can play in multiple ways in multiple spots. Caleb Downs is a plug-and-play guy. I think he's a perfect fit for the Bengals.
So you guys now, I mean, we talked about positional value, and then you had him at 7, and you have him at 10. So it's no way he even gets to Dallas at 12. I think it speaks to how special he is as a player.
Also, the Giants can get him, right? Because even though they got Javon Holland and they got pinned up, a lot of the secondary we see now because of matchups, we're seeing more 3 safety guys. So he can be a third guy that can really add a lot of value there.
And he also could be one of those surprising picks where everybody thinks he's going to go high, but teams go for positions that are typically drafted there, and suddenly he's sitting there later in the first where a surprising team who didn't think they'd have any chance suddenly takes him.
Seems like everyone loves him. And Eric Berry was 5th pick. Sean Taylor was up there. So some of the safeties that do get drafted that high absolutely make
I want to
a
also
difference.
know that he could slide. There's some issues with his knee that's starting to come up. So hopefully it's not a concern, but he's been forced to kind of defend his knee in public as far as saying he's going to be ready to go. But there's some red flags with the knee right now.
One of the most interesting players in the draft, and we're doing it every day in the OT here leading up to the NFL draft. So tune in tomorrow. It is day 4 of the front office. Are the Rams now the blueprint for successful NFL drafts? We discuss tomorrow on the OT. Time now for First Things Last. A lot of people have asked my thoughts on the Bears leaving Soldier Field for the suburbs or Indiana, and my answer has always been an unsatisfactory, I don't care. I find the story to be joyless and entirely for the service of billionaires at the expense of fans. But when top NFL reporter Adam Schefter waded into the waters this week doing his part to expedite a timeline with more of the same rhetoric, I figured, well, it's time to weigh in. Schefter writes, the Chicago Bears will decide where to build their stadium in the next few weeks per league sources. If Illinois doesn't pass legislation for Arlington Heights soon, sources believe the Bears are likely to be Indiana bound. Believe. Likely. As in, more leverage and scare tactics. Now allow me to do a brief recap of this saga for those of you who haven't followed every step of the way. Ever since the Bears first renovated Soldier Field and used public funding, which still hasn't been paid off to do so, the project was flawed. It looked like they had dropped a spaceship in between historic landmark columns that was too small to host a Super Bowl. They had no roof, they did not improve accessibility, and most importantly, didn't fix the biggest flaw from the Bears' perspective. They still didn't own the stadium. You see, Soldier Field is owned by the Chicago Park District, and over the years, this has created headaches, both of the financial and public relation variety. The financial is simple. The Bears don't get revenue from events at Soldier Field outside of Bears games, and for a family that inherited the team and didn't make their money in, say, oil, tech, or real estate, that's a bummer. And on the public relations front, well, there are many that I could pull from, but a personal favorite is when Kanye West held a concert at Soldier Field, brought a replica of his childhood home to the 50-yard line, and lit it on fire. Believe it or not, that had an impact on field conditions. So fast forward to now. The Bears spent a few $100 million to buy a few hundred acres of land in the Chicago suburb of Arlington Heights, pledged it to be the site of Bears land with housing, restaurants, and a brand new stadium that would attract a Super Bowl and Final Four to Chicago. One problem. The use of public funds for a billionaire playground is not popular politically in Illinois, and for good reason, as study after study shows that this is not a good use of public funds. Bears president Kevin Warren, a bit of a showman who has a history of leading the successful build of a great stadium in Minneapolis for the Vikings, well, he has stepped on a few rakes navigating the famously treacherous minefield that is Illinois politics. There have been photo ops with the mayor trying to build the new stadium in the current location when, as Schefter's tweet went on to accurately say, is simply not going to happen. There was the promise to get shovels in the ground in 2025, when my calendar can confirm it is in fact 2026. And now the back and forth flirtation with Indiana, which seems to be a transparent leverage play by the Bears to try to get Illinois to step up its offer for public funding and help with the property tax rate for the lands they already bought in Arlington Heights. All of that is to say, bleh. Who cares? The Chicago Bears will still be the Chicago Bears, whether they're in the suburbs or just across state lines. Just like the New York Giants aren't the New Jersey Giants, and the Dallas Cowboys aren't the Arlington Cowboys. The end result will be Chicago will host exactly one Super Bowl as cold weather cities don't get added to the regular rotation. The NFL will lose yet another outdoor stadium. Ticket prices will go up exponentially, as will the McCaskey family net worth. Can someone please just wake me when Caleb Williams is throwing passes again? That's all I've got. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on First Things First. We're back tomorrow with more of the OT.